Now, another way of bringing this home to us is simply by looking at the life of the founder of our religion. Because he himself exemplified the embrace of this aspect of the human condition. It may be that one reason why his seerah includes, again as one of his khasa'is, polygamy, is precisely to emphasize to the world that the Christian war against the flesh is over. That's finished. It led to agonies of self-renunciation and, in many cases, moral catastrophes. Now, as previously, perhaps now more than previously, now that the West, having finally decided that the Christian demonizing of human sexuality was a bad thing, has moved to the other extreme, the entire world seems to be drowning in concupiscence. Or at least drowning in it publicly, because it's always drowned in it privately. It's always been the major preoccupation for most people, but now it's made public. And the consequences for human happiness have been, unexpectedly, from the point of view of the short-sighted, secular, utilitarian moralist, calamitous. Marriage is increasingly failing, and one principal reason why it fails is that nobody is quite satisfied any longer. Why? Because expectations, particularly physical, sexual expectations, have been raised so impossibly high by a teenage culture that is never satisfied with anything other than perfection. There are few sights more pathetic than seeing middle-aged executives travelling home in the evening from a hard day's work, going back to their wives, surrounded on all sides by advertising images of what they no longer possess. The ideal fantasy woman, advertising things that in many cases seem to have nothing to do with the human body, but she's there anyway because it makes you look. But he's going back to his wife who has loved him for 20 years and has sacrificed her body for him and borne children and is now sagging, has varicose veins and suffering all manner of ailments. And he now knows that he's not got what society is telling him he should have to be a full member of the society with full self-respect. And the result is, of course, that that man is dissatisfied and he seeks to realize the fantasy in the haram. Even in the most remote Bible Belt settlements in this country now, tucked away somewhere in a back street, or somewhere, sometimes not even in a back street, there is the massage parlor, the lap dancing salon, all-night adventures to cater for these people. The consequence is degradation for those people who hate themselves for doing it, humiliation, often divorce for their wives, trauma, often resulting in psychological difficulties for the rest of their lives, for their children, when they see their parents split up. Misery all round, despite the fact that the system is supposed to be promising only delights. It's not working, and the Sunnah could have told them that this was not going to work. Not because the Sunnah demonizes that desire. On the contrary, it's enshrined as something sacred in the life of the exemplar. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, al-insan al-kamil. But when it is abused, it causes more suffering than any other principle known to man. It causes the greatest happiness, it can also cause the greatest unhappiness. The function of the Sharia is to maximize the happiness and to keep people away from their own weaknesses. Here, as elsewhere, the Sharia, despite its apparent rigor and austerity, is pure mercy and rahmah from beginning to end. But certainly the celibate dream is not working for the Roman Catholic clergy. Last year, the Kansas City Star published an investigation and several issues into the moral health of the Catholic clergy in the United States. Catholic journalists were doing it, not inherently hostile to the church, and their conclusion was the shocking one, but to insiders not terribly surprising, which is that American Catholic priests are 4 times as likely to die of AIDS as the general population. So whatever the ideal might be, the reality is a tragedy. Loneliness, frustration, the inevitable and natural and legitimate human desire for physical proximity with another human being amidst the loneliness and desolation of so much of our existence. All of that has led to that particular moral catastrophe. Not to mention the abuse of children, young boys, and the other horrors concomitant upon the manifest failure of the supposed charism of celibacy.